is tea time. Yeah, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time. So be sure to grab your tea, grab a seat, and tune in to Miss Liz. Tea time, making a difference, one cup at a time. Tea time, yeah. Tea time, time.
Well, welcome to Tea Time. We are back and we are in the afternoon. Yes, there was no morning tea time. That tea time is rescheduled for season 5, so stay tuned for PC Smith. Patty Smith will be joining Miss Liz in season 5 in January for her tea time. Now we are here in the afternoon tea time, and I have the incredible Darren Cranford who is here, and we're going to talk about this incredible book. I am so excited because this is an incredible book. We're going to talk about Nado's first day of school. But before we get started, we're going to do the disclaimer and a little bit of bio on Darren, and then we're going to get Darren in here, and he's going to spill a good, strong cup of tea with us. If you haven't subscribed to Miss Liz's YouTube channel, be sure to check that out. Subscribe, ring that little doorbell, because December 21st, you will see over 90 guests that are coming back and joining Miss Liz for the reunion tea time. So a little bit on the disclaimer, then bio, and then we're getting Darren in, and we're spilling some tea for you this afternoon. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz, myself, is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment, please grant StreamYard permission to see your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that the content brought forward for any Tea Time show hosted by myself, Miss Liz, is always brought forth in good faith. However, may bring forth dialogues and opinions that are not representative of my platform. The facts and information are perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All Tea Time guests and audience participants are responsible for using their good judgment in taking any action that may relate to the discussion. The content brought forward may include discussions for some where they may be emotionally at risk. It is significant to know that this show is engaging in discussion forums only to offer and inspire awareness and connection, and is not providing therapeutical advice. If you have any questions about the disclaimer or the panelist discussion, you may freely contact me, Miss Liz, through my email at bookingmissliz@gmail.com. Moving forward, should you choose to voluntarily participate in the show in any aspect, I myself, Miss Liz, welcomes you. And should you decide that this show is not made for you at this time, I respect those wishes and will see you at a later show at a later date and time. Again, all tea times in 2023 are done on Thursday, 10, 3, and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if it's not a Thursday, it's a returning guest or rescheduled guest coming in. My tongue is twisted already because I'm super excited about this book. So let me give you a little bit on my guest this afternoon. So Darren Cranford is the co-owner of Crocs VFX, accomplished artist, Canadian Academy nominated director for animation, and an author and an illustrator and all of that good stuff. But I'm going to give you a little bit more on Darren. So Darren Cranford is an in the professional realms. Darren serves as the co-owner of Nord VFX. I hope I'm saying it right. A premier visual effects and animation studio, which has been in operation for over 25 years. Under his adapt leadership, Nor BFX has garnered recognition for its exceptional work with prominent movie studios such as Netflix, NBC, Universal, and 20th Century Fox. Darren's expertise in art direction and storyboarding has solidified his reputation as a notable figure in the film industry. Now, for more on Darren, check out his full bio on Miss Liz's Facebook page. Let me get Darren in here and let me get a sip of tea. Welcome, Darren.
Hello, hello. How are you?
I am good. My tongue is just doing this thing because when I get super excited, then my words start to jumble and I'm just like, slow down, slow down. So I am super, super excited for this tea time because like I said before we went live, I've read this book like 20 times.
Wow.
You know,
that's great.
I can't wait to give it to my little granddaughter for Christmas because Grandma's read it 20 times, but I haven't even given it to her yet.
That's amazing.
So, Darren, I want to start off how I start off all the tea times. Who are you as a little guy, and who are you now as a grown man?
As a little boy, I was all about. I'll actually go back to. I have a junior kindergarten report card that my mother gave me recently, and it's all full. She had it kept neatly away, and in it, my teacher, Mrs. Yushishin, had said that I love animation, and I'm going to draw Bugs Bunny in the future. That I'm going to be an artist someday. So I grew up playing with Star Wars figures and all that, like as most kids my age did. But it always had to be about stories. It wasn't, I'd have friends come over and they just wanted to smash toys together. And it was like, no, it needs to have a story. What's the plot? I'm just a little kid, 8-year-old kid, and I'm, playing with Star Wars, man. And it had to have a story. You had to build the buildings. There had to be a background. There had to be conflict there, so I was always interested in story, always interested in drawing. And I was just wide-eyed and, just crazy about animation. That's who I was as a kid, and as an adult, it hasn't changed. I grew and continued wanting to do that. The love of story, love of animation, love of drawing, illustration, all of that. That is still who I am to this day. I'm a little wiser, maybe a little bit more beaten up over time, but still the same person who just sees the magic in stories.
I love as a little boy, you wanted a storyline before you beat up the toys, right? Like, why are we doing this? Like, why are we writing these toys, right? I think we don't tell enough stories, right? We just want to do stuff. We just want to jump in without understanding why we want to do it. And I think that's really important. And I think that's where the story of Noddle, you took like a couple of years. Like, I followed you and I was like, come on, like, I need this book. Like, I need to know where he's going. Even the name Noddle took a time for you to
long
get
time.
Right.
Long time.
So Darren, what has this book taught you about yourself?
This book had taught me, I think it taught me that I can do what I plan to do. I can create what I wanted to create and tell the story that I wanted to create. I've been an illustrator for decades, and I do it for other people. And I see these books come in, and some of them are great, and some of them not so great. And I go, that could be better. This could be better. And but I never claim myself to be an author. I just like, no, that's not me. But I see all the problems with the stories and go, yeah, it's great to be a critic. And same thing with scripts. I'm a director on animation, and these scripts come in, and production companies will say, hey, Darren, how does this fit for animation? And I will go through the stories and go, this doesn't work here. This doesn't work. This is how we should arrange this. And I'm arranging stories and making the stories and giving feedback on how the story should go. And even giving, hey, I have this idea for a story, and it shows up. And I never thought myself an author until I just sat back and went, this is exactly what I'm doing. And this is what I do daily. I am writing stories. So let's give my hand at it. And I had this story in my mind, and still it took 2 years because I was afraid to put myself out there other than an illustrator, because it was a hard time adjusting to the other side of it.
Well, and that's why I wanted to have you here, Darren, is because there's so much hidden things, right? We do for others, but then when we do it for ourselves, it's like, oh, wow, this is scary. Like we got to get out of our comfort zone here. Like we're giving feedback for other people's work, but then we have to look at our own work, right? How we can improve it, how we can, you know. And with the story of Noddle, like I just think the characters are fun looking, they're playful, and the storyline that you put in it, it is so transparent of how we accept one another
Yeah.
and how the actions of others do not reflect on the actions that we do. You know, not all the story, like Darren, where Mr. Blue, like, you know, Big Blue, like, yeah, you know, he in the story, I'm going to get you to read the story if you don't mind, Darren.
Yeah.
Not of it, because I want people to go out and get this book. So I don't want you to read it all, but I want you
Right.
to pick a part in a story that stands out for you, Darren, since you're the author. So what part of the book stands out for you the most?
Let me see. Well, he wakes up in the morning. He's excited about his first day, and he puts on his favorite sneakers. He gets ready for the day, uh, and why a paper bag puts on a backpack, I don't know, but he does. Uh, and his mom puts in a special note because she knows her little boy, and she loves him and wants him to feel good about his new school. I didn't say it was his first day of school ever. I just made it his first day of school, as if, so I'm opening it up so that it could be a new school. And this is,
Oh,
so that's why I left it kind of vague as to, is it a new school or is this first day of school ever? So he's going to. I specifically said a new school so that the reader it's open to all grades that are meeting new friends. So it could be even going to a new grade where they have to meet new friends. But I think would be when he arrives. I think that is the most part where I think people will associate with. So I'll read that part. When Noddle arrived, he was shocked by how many different lunch bags there were. Big ones, small ones, bright ones, tall ones. There was even a pair of twin lunch containers that Noddle just knew he was going to mix up for a while. Soon, the same worry from the morning crept its way back into Noddle's mind. A small voice interrupted Noddle's thoughts. Hi there, I'm Lily. Noddle turned around and smiled at the tiny light green stackable lunchbox. You're new here, she noticed. Yes, I am. My name is Noddle, Noddle replied with a timid smile.
I think it's just incredible, and I love that you're reading the book, and I can actually follow you when you're reading it. Like it is cool.
Right.
I think it's really important that, you know, when we have authors on and we have these incredible stories on, that we ourselves support the authors and that and read along with you, because it just makes it so magical, right? Like I know the author, and I love doing this with my kids and my grandkids, is I know these people.
Mhm.
Grandma has interviewed these people. You know, grandma has got to sit and get to understand why they do what they do.
Mhm.
So does this story resonate with you as a little boy at all growing up?
Very much. I grew up in a small town, a beautiful, beautiful town called Botwood, Newfoundland. But it was a population of about 2,000 people. It was a very tiny community. And, you know, animation was not a thing that anyone aspired to. It was something, me being an artist, I was probably one of the very few artists in my entire school or in the community for that matter, because the community would get me to paint signs. I did most of the sign work on a lot of the buildings, even the welcoming sign that I did for the community to come into the community. I painted it.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so anything that was needed to be art in the community, they came to me. So I felt not that I didn't belong, but I felt certainly different for sure. And it was, I had to find my way of how to fit in that community. And of course, being in Newfoundland, it was an amazing community, and I was very welcome. But it certainly was I was an odd duck for sure to fit in where I was.
I like odd ducks. You know, we all have that oddness in us, you know, and I like when it shines through. So, Darren, what was it about the brown paper bag?
The brown paper bag, I wanted to talk about. I didn't want to say, it was his color, or it was his abilities, or I didn't want to say he's disabled. I didn't want to say anything specific. He was a paper bag, and he had his limitations because he was a paper bag. He was different, and they saw him as different, but he's still doing the same task as them. But it could, and again, I wanted to leave that open for kids to interpret how they associate it with themselves, because not all, people with paper bags associate that with maybe they're poor, or they're not affluent as the other ones with the cool sneakers and the awesome lunch bags. A lot of, I know my kids went to school, they had to have the cool lunch bags that match with everybody else's. And you can't, Dad, I can't put my stuff in a paper bag. That's not cool. It's like, it still works. It still is, it works just fine. Yeah. But they had to be cool, they had to fit in. So that's why I had thought the paper bag is one of those things that is perfectly functional, perfectly fine, but it doesn't match with the rest. And so that's where the paper bag came from. And then, of course, the note at the end is what ties it back to being the paper bag.
Yeah, I really like it, because the note in the end is from Mom, right?
Yes.
And as a mom, I'm just like, I used to put these little notes in my kids' lunches, like, have a good day, make a friend, be nice, be kind,
Exactly.
And my kids would be like, Mom, can you stop with the notes? And I was like, why? What's up? Like, they're like people are reading these notes and saying, like, my mom wants me to be kind. And,
Yeah.
And I kept doing it. It was just who I was as a mom,
Absolutely.
And I think that's where the book really resonates with me, Darren, is because it had a lot of similarities of what I tried to teach my children growing up. Mm-hmm. And I see that in the lives and children that you're teaching, is they're going to look at a paper bag in a different way now. Yeah. So do you think that you're going to bring back, like, the brown paper bag for lunches?
I hope so. At least the notes, because that's one of the things I used to do for my daughter. And it wasn't always like an inspirational or anything. Sometimes I would just draw a silly picture. Being the illustrator that I am, I'd draw something silly, stick it on her sandwich bag, and throw it in there, and so that she'd have a funny surprise, something that would entertain her or make her laugh, when she got her lunch. So something that, or a silly saying or something like that, throw it in there, and just for fun. So yeah, I hope it does. I hope more parents do that, because it is a nice surprise. It's kind of like, it's like the Kinder surprises. You open them up and you don't know, it's going to be a little surprise. So it's always something entertaining for them when they open up their lunch bag to see what was in there. If there's something, little note in there or something, or a drawing.
I think it's really cool, having a dad like you, Darren, having these cute little figurines. So did you ever draw Bugs Bunny?
I didn't have the chance. Well, when as a kid, I drew Bugs Bunny for sure, but I never had the opportunity to work on a Bugs Bunny show. Unfortunately, we worked on many shows, but not a Warner Brothers show, sadly.
Well, you never know what the future holds, right?
Exactly.
So I have a few questions here. A lot of people are asking about, like, some of the places you've worked with: Netflix, NBC, Universal, and 20th Century Fox. So those are all different locations and studios. So what has each one taught you about yourself working with all these different studios and locations?
Well, actually, with those studios, there's a very big timeline of projects. So, one of the first things that my business partner's Clint Green, we got together to do animation, and that's what our focus was animation, to start the studio. And we had a guy come into the studio, and he said, "Hey, I'm working on another project. We're looking for an animated character, like some type of sea creature, and would love for you to work on that." And we said, "Sure, we'd love to do that." And then he said, "Hey, what are you working on there?" And we said, "We're doing some animatics." And he said, "Animatics, what is that?" And we said, "Well, we build the room exactly to spec, all the feet, height, tilt, and all that. And then we can move cameras through it so that we know what we're going to do after." And he said, "Is it all accurate?" And we said, "Yeah." And he said, "Is the cameras accurate?" And we said, "Yeah, absolutely." And he said, "Well, I'm working on another project, and I'm doing the special effects. And maybe you should talk to the visual effects director about what you're doing. Just come on out to Toronto, and we'll talk." So me and my business partner go out, and this was 20th Century Fox's X-Men. And so the very first movie that we worked on was X-Men. And that just blew our minds that, that was That was back in 2000 or 1999, actually. The movie came out in 2000. And of course, going from that spawned more stuff. So, and different companies. And that was a great time on that film. But then that went on to other movies and TV, and then we went on to NBC Universal shows, and we just kept going from there. And then, of course, then when Netflix came out, that it was an easy transition into that. Each company is different, and it's not so much the company themselves, but how we grow from doing animatics to doing full blown visual effects to doing TV, which is a quick turnaround, very, very quick turnaround. So, sometimes a TV show like one where we just recently worked on for a company, Crow VFX, we just did, one episode alone was 260 visual effects shots. And, the turnaround is very fast. We had to do that in about a month, so yeah, it's a very, very fast paced world. And so we have to be able to problem solve very, very quickly.
So anybody that wants to know a little bit more about the visual effects, I'm shocked by those numbers, like 260 shots. Like, I'm just like, whoa. And this is what I mean. Like we see an hour show or a 30-minute show and we think, oh, it's easy peasy, but it's all of the work that goes in it that people don't notice and see, right?
And that's the thing with visual effects. You're not supposed to see it. So, if you're doing TV, that person has to be on the set all the time, daily. Well, of course, we're normal people. You're going to have a pimple, you're going to have a blemish. Well, that's our job. We remove it for the actor or actresses. We make that go away. We just finished the first 4 episodes, which are already aired. So I guess I can talk about it, of Chucky for Netflix. I think it's on Netflix. I don't quote me on where it's airing right now, because I don't get a chance to see it after I've seen it 100 times, at the studio. But
well, that's it, right? It's
right?
your work. So when you watch it, it's a completely different feel for you because you're the one working on it.
Exactly. So, with that is, Chucky is a real puppet. He's not computer generated. He's a real puppet, animatronics. So he has very talented master puppeteers puppet him. So they got one doing the head, one doing one arm and a leg, and another one doing another arm and leg, or, whatever the scenario needs. And they're all manipulating the arms, fingers, facial expressions, all of that. And you have these full puppeteers in the scene. Every single shot that he's in, there's puppeteers. Wow. Our job is to paint them out. We get rid of those puppeteers. We have to make them go away.
You kind of put the puzzle together.
We put the puzzle together so that it looks like that person is, like Chucky is alive. You keep that, again, you're telling the story. You suspend that disbelief, right?
So, Darren, have you always worked on things that bring things together, like acceptance and diversity, and like all of your projects? Have they all been related to the same genre, like same kind of feel, or?
No, this was, and I think this is why I decided to do this. Because I felt there was a lack in the books, at least the ones that I was working on. I felt that there was a story that needed to be told, and it's like, I have the talent to do this. I need to tell this story because it's not being told. When me and my business partner were out in the market and looking at Christmas movies, we didn't find one for preschoolers that told the real story of Christmas. There was a lot of, Santa Claus and reindeers and, all that, but not the real story. So we came up with the animated show called The Hugglers, which was a 3 DVD set way back almost 20 years ago. Now we're 15 years ago now. Yeah, it was a while back. But again, it was because we saw a hole in what we believed in. And we saw, oh, we need to put that out there. And that's what I saw with this book. I saw a lot of push diversity, but not, I struggle to find the words. I wanted something that was inclusive for a number of ways of looking at it. You know, how any kid can look at the paper bag and go, yeah, I can identify with that.
And I think that's what I liked about the story is the like you said, there's a lot of push diversity, but
Hmm.
there's not a lot of acceptance on diversity.
That's perfectly said. Perfectly said. Yes.
You know, and that's what I notice is everyone speaks of diversity, but they're not accepting of diversity.
Yes.
You know, and that's what I liked about Noddle is, you know, Noddle was treated badly, but he taught Mr. Blue on how to be, you know,
Yeah.
that we can still be nice to people even when they're mean to us, you know.
Yeah.
We have a choice, you
That's
know.
exactly. It was about the choice. Is it?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people talk about it, but like, how does that fit in? How does that look? And no one was writing about how does that look in real in a situation, and that's why I wrote that situation so that you could actually see how, you know, that works and how he reacts in the face of diversity.
Yeah. So when you made these characters, Darren, did are they related to anybody like in your life? Like are they based on real characters or you
Uh,
know, people who actually like did anybody bully you as a child? Like
yeah. Well, yes. Yeah. I was. There was times when I was bullied. I had been on a hockey team. I was bullied a little bit, even by my own, because I wasn't. I had joined the hockey team much later, and so I was a little bit bullied there. Became friends with them later on because again, the tables turned, and I was in a situation where later on they were trying to become part of the club of in the school that I was a part of, and they were outsiders, and I had the opportunity to not allow them, or I could be the person that puts my pride aside and go, you know what, you're welcome to here. And I did that. I made sure they felt welcome, you know, even though they had bullied me. And then I became friends with them, much like the book. So, and then other characters in the book, I tried to. In this one, I don't talk much about the characters. I do name them, but I don't talk about much of their personalities. But I did leave it open because coming from an animation background, I wanted to leave it open for multiple books so that you see there's different personalities, there's different characters, and they all have, different goals in life. So a lot of them, I made sure I named them in this book so that you recognize them later because they will stand to the forefront. In this story, Blue is the bad guy, but he's not a bad guy. I literally said in the story that he was not so nice because he had a rotten apple inside of him. He was, it was that exact reason. So he's not always a bad person. He's just not. And I guess, I'm sure we all met people like this who are not socially aware as other
yeah.
people are. And he's just not socially aware. He just says, hey, you don't look like you fit in here. Like you're a paper bag. Like you don't belong. He doesn't mean
Yeah.
it in I don't think he's a menace or did it in a bad way or means it in a bad way, but he is that person who just doesn't pick up on social cues and says stuff as he sees it without thinking, you know? And then
Yeah.
you have other people like Lily in the story who is empathetic and who is the kind of person, and that's my daughter now. She is that type of person who's very empathetic and wants everybody to be happy and tries to, include everyone and thinks from the heart. As
Well,
for other,
I really love, Darren, that you left this wide open because then I know where the next question is going. Because the next question was, do we have future books? And you know, I love that you have it left open, and you know, you gave just a little bit of tidbits so that people want to buy the next one and the next one and the next.
there will
So
be more. There will be more. I've already written the concepts. There's at least 3 more concepts for books. So, and featuring different characters. Because one of the things I've learned when I was doing a lot of school visits is, the different kids latched onto different characters. They actually identify with different characters, even though I don't talk about them. They're like, "Who's that character there? What is that person? And what are they about?" And they want to know about that person. So
yeah.
it's kind of funny. And they're lunch bags, which is funny. Like they're lunch bags, but yet the kids are identifying with these lunch bags. You
Well,
know,
it always it made me when I first read it, when the first time I read it, Darren, I was like, you know what? It made me imagine all the times we went to school, all the different lunch bags out there. having this conversation. Oh, what did you get today? Like, what did they put in your bag? Like, I'm like seeing these lunch bags start talking to me, and I see like this cartoon coming alive inside as I'm reading the book, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, everyone that reads this book is going to have that open mindset of, lunch bags have feelings too. Like, like, don't be so rough with them. Don't just toss them in your school bag. Like, give them a
Yeah.
little bit of love too.
And
So
that's what I was thinking too when I wrote these. I looked around on the internet, and there was nothing about lunch bags. There was no characters for lunch bags. And I went, this is great, because the whole story is about is what's inside that counts, and they're lunch bags. So the whole story, all the stories will revolve about what's inside of them that comes through, that is important. Yes, lunches, but maybe the kids are, I call them kids. The lunch bags bring toys to school in their lunch bags. Stuff that they want, that's important, but then that takes away room for what is important, which is their lunches. So it's things like that I want to keep trying on the journey that I'm taking these kids on.
yeah, I think serving from within is really deeply important. So now I'm going to get to your T, Darren. So if I give you the letters TEA, what T are you serving me from within?
Okay, TEA. I would say the first one for T would be timing. As you can tell, I'm not a spring chicken. Timing is everything, and I think I don't have any regret. So timing would be my T. And when I say timing, it is making sure that, no matter what happens in life, everything prepares you for the moments. Like I said about the guy who came into our studio, had he not come in, the timing, that was the perfect timing for him to come in. But our studio had trained for that opportunity, so it wasn't luck. If we weren't ready, if we weren't good enough, then that opportunity would have gone by, and we wouldn't have done that job. So it opened up opportunities for more timing. So T would be timing. E, I think that one would be obvious. Entertain. It's stories. It's always entertain, have fun, because I never look at what I do as a job. I look at it as entertaining, and it's about yes, it is a story that kids has that has a moral lesson, but they need to be entertained. It has to be a fun story. When the character pulls out the mushy sandwich because he had spilt his milk, that's the moment where all the kids are like, they're right on the edge of their seat, and they're like, oh no,
What's
and
going to happen?
as the kids were sitting there, every class that I read that to, every one of them just gasped, like, like, because they've all been there. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
So it's not just sitting there listening to a moral tale, and this is, this is what I'm telling you, pointing finger. It was fun. They wanted it to be fun, so that's what it's about. And A is align, and I say align because because in my life I want things to align with my goals and growth. I'm always, no matter what I do, I wake up every morning and looking, did I do better than I did yesterday? Trying to be better. Does this align with my goals? As an illustrator, you get asked to do a lot of things that you don't want to do, and I had to learn early on, does this align with my goals and my beliefs? And if it doesn't, don't do it. I don't want to, if someone's getting me to do a book that I don't believe in, I don't feel good about doing that book. And I put that, and I don't want, then I will be long since gone, but then the books will outlive me. All my books will outlive me. And I don't want my name to be on something that I can't defend. And I don't want, if people look at that, it's like, wow, that's a horrible book. And who was the illustrator on that? That was Darren Cranford. And I don't want my name on something that I'm not proud of. So if something doesn't align with my goals, then I've learned now that I say no. I don't want to do that. And I've been fortunate enough that I've been able to pick projects now that align with who I am and what I want to do as a person, and grow with what I'm doing.
Well, I think it's deeply important too for a role model, right, for your children as well, to show them, to you don't have to do it just because people say you have to.
Exactly.
It's, if it doesn't feel good with you and you don't want your name on it, like And it's the legacy you leave behind, like you said, Darren. Like when you're gone, you don't want somebody saying 20 years from now, like, well, that was Darren Cranford that did that, like,
Right.
yeah, I totally get that. Like alignment is deeply important, and we don't talk about that enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
We use a lot of words in today's society, but we don't actually understand the words.
Yeah. And that's what I want my kids to understand. I want my kids to look up to me. They go, "Oh, Dad just did that for the money?" No, Dad did that because that aligned with who he is. I get why Dad did that, you know?
Yeah. I think that's a deeply important message for children out there, for all the viewers out there, like Miss Liz always says that, if it doesn't align with Miss Liz is not doing it. It doesn't matter what the cost is or what the profit is. We don't do it. We just say no. It's okay to say no. And
Mm-hmm.
that. And I think in the book of Noddle is you give that suspense, right? Where when the chocolate milk spills, and it's like I'm like these little school kids. I'm just like, oh, so what's he gonna do now? Like, and then I read the next page and I was, oh, well, isn't that sweet? Like, so you take you on a journey. But they say that you need the 3 E's in order to bring a real impact, right? Is you need that entertainment, you need that engagement, and the education. And it's like you as a little boy, you were saying that you needed a storyline before you knew you were breaking the toys up. Like, So I think it's important that we get those 3 E's out there is we engage with our readers and our listeners and people to our life journeys and why we do things. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
the alignment comes in is when we start showing real true character and transparency of who we are, then
Yeah.
people say, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I know why he does it, and that's what I got. Like when I read this book, I was just like I said, I've read it many times, over 20 times. I'm just like, I got to stop reading it because I have to read it to my granddaughter when I give it to her. And I'm going to be like, oh, grandma's read it already. Like, I'm going to take the fun out of it. So, but I can't wait for her to get it on Christmas morning and read Noddle.
Oh, that's wonderful.
She's going to be 3 and she loves books. And I know she's just going to love the graphics and that.
Well, please let me know what she reacts like. I'd love to hear.
Oh, I'm going to take a picture.
Yeah,
she has her own
please
little
do.
mini lazy boy and that, and she's going to be sitting and she's reading.
I love it.
Like, yeah, it's cool what she does with books. I want to get into Darren, like the colors. What were the colors like when you were making these characters? When you thought of the colors?
Yeah.
Because we don't talk about colors, right? So I want to talk about colors. So,
Mm-hmm.
what was it about the colors and the characters that you put together?
I wanted their personality to come through with the colors. So, you've got Brock that has the yellow, red, and blue, and he's the the sportster, the character. He's going to be alive. And again, he's in the background on this story, but he will come back. Bloob is again. He's the blue. The blue was just something I wanted very strong with. I actually put racing stripes down him because he's all about the quick. And again, he's talking before his mouth, before his brain kicks in. Again, I don't want him to be a bad guy. He will probably end up being the catalyst for a lot of bad things, but it's only because he doesn't think before he speaks, that type of thing. Other characters, I try to make it look like the Tiffany has the whole lower half has a little floral print, and that's very indicative of like my daughter. She loves dresses and bright colors and just full of life, and that's the type of character I want her to be. Bright yellow up top. Masha and Mia, they have the same colors, they're just intermixed, so they're twins, but their colors are flipped. And so that's their characters. And then there's Pearl in the background in a lot of this right now, and she is the largest lunchbox. And I wanted her to be the sweetest, quietest one, but would stand up for any of her friends. And again, I'm going to get into her story later. And she is like I believe light. I got to check my own book. I believe she's light blue. Yeah, she is light blue with a little pink border. And I gave the zippers a little lift because I wanted like almost like a little bow in her hair type look. And Raj, Raj is gray, but that lunchbox actually matches my lunchbox. I had for many years. It's my black and gray lunchbox, just plain lunchbox, no nonsense, very logical. That is who he is, and that is the character that he is, but with a flair of fun because he has the yellow glasses. When doing this book, I had the background class very brightly colored, and I found that it competed with you when you have all the characters and then the background. It was just an overload of color. So I really worked hard to give it a foreground, middle ground, background of color, and I did that by, even you'll notice the line. If you look at the line work, you go, oh, it's just a black line on all of it. But if you look closely, whatever I want to focus on, I will make the blackest line. And then the background will be slight grayer. And then anything in the far back will be even lighter gray than that. And the colors are slightly more muted as you go back so that the characters will pop on the background. I also try to give the background a little bit more purple and blues to make it recede while the characters pop forward, and give the where they're all on the table to give that more of a pop and bright color.
Well, I think it's the blending, right? The flow.
Mm-hmm.
It's, like the strengths in the front, then in the middle, then the back kind of fades it, as they get further away. It's like taking a walk, right?
Yeah.
Into the trails, and that as you look back, it gets further and further away, right? The colors start to blend out as you get more ahead. And that I just loved how it all came together, Darren. Like you did an awesome job. Like I said, the cover, like who cannot love these colors? Like, and I love how you said the first day of school, new school, because new classes.
Yep.
You start a new day every year in September or August, wherever you're located. And you have that feeling of fitting in, right? Making a new friend. Are you the one that's gonna make that first step?
Yes.
And like this book gives so much to look forward to. I really like the flow of it. Darren, you did an awesome job. It took you a long time. I was like, okay, come on. Like, this book has got to come.
Well, I think it's because, again, when it's again, when I go back to putting your name on it, it had to be, I guess I fell into the trap where, I felt it had to be perfect. I had to have educators and teachers and I wanted more people to look at it and make sure it's right. And I kept going back and I'm like, no, it's not good enough. No, it's not good enough. And eventually I just went, stop. It's fine. It's good enough. You're going to kill the fun if you keep listening to everyone, and because everyone's going to have an opinion. Yeah. So go with what was fun, enjoy it, and put it out. Just put it out. And so I did. And so
sometimes we just got to put it out, right? We just got to jump and we got to say, oh, where was this taking us? So is there any future plans for a movie or a series or anything for Noddle?
Yes. We are my company. So Crow Visual Effects is the one that does the visual effects, and Keyframe is the side that does animation. So the Keyframe side is talking with a production company right now, looking at possibly making this an animated show.
Oh, I'm so excited. I'll be like, I know.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. We'll see. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping.
Well, you'll have to keep me updated for that. So, Darren, if anybody would like to have you read in their schools or anything like that, or reach out to you and know more about this book, how can they find that?
They can always, on Amazon.com, they can find the book, Noddle's First Day of School. Put the word book at the end. I don't know, for some reason it doesn't show up unless you put the word book at the end, then it shows up. If they want to contact me directly, it's nice and easy. Go to DarrenCranford.com. There I am. And there's right at the bottom is a form. They can reach out to me and they can contact me at any time.
Oh, I lost you for a few seconds. You want to repeat that, Darren?
I was just saying that if they want to reach out to me personally, they can go on DarrenCranford.com, and right at the bottom is a way to contact me, and they can just fill out the form, or I believe there's I think there's an email right there, and they can contact me that way.
Awesome. So I we're almost at the end here. We got 15 minutes left. So in those last 15 minutes, I want to talk about Noddle, how you got the name Noddle, because I just love it. I think it's playful, it's enjoyable, it's easy to say for little kids to say it. Like I think my little granddaughter Raylan will be able to say it within a week. Like she'll be like Noddle, Noddle, Noddle.
The name Noddle, well, I'm sure as you've seen on the TikTok, I had a hard time finding the name, and it was originally going to be Bloob, but the color, his nemesis in this book was a blue colored lunch bag, and people who were reading it got confused between the two. And the name Bloob came from my son, who used to call blueberries bloobs. And I thought, and I said to him, I said, if I ever write a book, I said, I'll name one of the characters Bloob, just for that reason, because I thought it was a cute name. So then, of course, that left the main character with no name. And I couldn't think of it for the longest time. And I'm currently living in Niagara-on-the-Lake in Ontario. And, of course, Niagara-on-the-Lake is such a long name to spell out. The locals here just say N-O-T-L. But most people, when they say it, just say Noddle, N-O-T-L. They just go, oh, I live in Noddle. And when I first heard that years ago, I went, well, that's a bizarre name. And then when I was searching for a name and I was stuck, my daughter had said it, and she's, we live in Noddle. And I went, that is too cute. That's actually a cute little name. And so Noddle came from where I live now, Noddle. Only instead of N-O-T-L, it's N-O-T-T-L-E for the character. So, yeah.
I think it's different, right? Because it hasn't been heard before.
Yeah.
And that's the first time. I'm in Canada and I've never heard of Niagara Falls, being called Noddle. So
Yeah.
I learned something new. I was just like, wow. So Darren, you come originally from Newfoundland.
Yes.
So did you add any of Newfoundland into this book?
I can't say directly. I mean, let me think of if I've done anything directly. I don't think anything specifically in there from Newfoundland, other than the whole classroom was a friend of mine who was from Newfoundland who gave me reference pictures. So it was completely based on that classroom. So in a way, absolutely 100%, but not intentionally. It was not meant to be specifically Newfoundland or anything like that. Yeah. I want to keep it very neutral because I wanted all kids to identify with it.
Absolutely. And I asked you that great stories always seem to go back home and we add home in somehow, and yeah. I wanted to know about this classroom because how did you create the classroom? Was it from the images?
Well, what I did was I looked at all the images that I had from different teachers, and because again I'm from a computer background and from an illustration background, and I knew that I'd had to be doing the background in every single one of these pictures. There's like almost 30 different illustrations in this book. What I did was I went and built the entire classroom in 3D and put all my angles in there, and I built every chair, every pencil, everything I built in 3D. And then I used that as my reference for drawing so that I wouldn't miss something. So that, when you look in the background, like I got one here, when you see, stuff like this set of books, I wanted to make sure this set of books always was in this color order. So I built it all first, and that way I'd always have reference. So when I drew it from another angle, when you see it later on, so later on in the book, there it is again. Now it's over in, there it is up in this corner, still the same color, but it's the same books. So I didn't want to get them mixed up because there's so much going on in a kid's classroom with all the the lettering, all the, the numbers and letters and boxes and blocks. And I wanted to make sure that was consistent. I didn't want, again, I wanted continuity in the book so that, kids would understand the different angles of what's going on and be able to understand where they are in the room. So I went and built the whole thing, then used that as a reference for every single picture and drew it that way.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just love how it all comes together and how you bring them into every different image and the colors and the layouts and everything. Now I want to ask about the lunches. because that was one of the things I was like, how did he come up with those types of lunches? Has he had these lunches? Did somebody give you like direction for lunch?
That one was hard because, there are so many schools that say you can't have nuts, you can't have this, you can't. So I had to be very careful with what I put in there. And, some say, let's not have meat, let's not have this, or so it was very difficult. So I went on Pinterest and looked at kids' lunches and saw what parents were posting and saying, what did you do as a lunch? Okay. And then I looked at what was realistic, because some of these lunches are just ridiculously over the top, and you just go, yeah, I'm throwing in a juice box, a banana, a yogurt, and here's a spoon, and yeah, here's 2 pieces of buttered bread. Wrap it up, you know, uh, because not all you can't be on all the time. As a parent, yeah, you can do a spectacular lunch every now and again, but sometimes you're just going to get last night's leftovers, and that's just what it is. So that's where those came from.
Yeah, because I was reading the lunches and I was like, really? Like, who's making that for lunch? Because I know as a mom, when I was making lunches, I was like, that's a lot of work.
Exactly. 100%.
And I know growing up, when my parents would make my lunches, and there were sometimes they would put a tuna sandwich or something in, and I was like, oh, does anybody want to trade this? Like, we used to trade lunches, right?
And that's what I had in the book. I actually put that in as a line. They were trading lunches. Yes, absolutely.
Because I think all the kids are doing that, right? If they got something, they're like, oh, you got that cookie or you got that granola bar, I really would like that. Like, I got an apple, give me the granola bar. There's a lot of trading, a lot of stuff. So
yeah, with them trading, I had to put a line in there that when the teachers weren't looking, they traded, because apparently that's a no-no in school, trading lunches. So I had to say, when the teachers weren't looking, that's when the classes traded their goods.
Right. And it brought back a lot of childhood memories, because when we were in the cafeteria, that's what we would do. Teachers would say, no, you're not allowed to do that, because other kids don't know about allergies and stuff like that some child might have. And then all of a sudden someone's having a reaction. Right. So,
yeah.
So Darren, what message would you like to leave with all the kids out there about NAUTO?
I would like the kids to, again, it's what's inside that counts. That was the biggest message. That was the biggest takeaway that I wanted kids to have. And it's not just learning about what's inside themselves, but knowing what's inside others, paying attention to, I think a lot of times people are saying, it's all about me, 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 what is about you? Like, what is about you that makes you unique and all that? That's what they're telling kids. But I want kids to go and look at other kids and go, you know what? You don't know what their situation is at home. You don't know what they're going through. Think about what's inside that counts. Think about what they may be going through. Yeah, you may want, that toy or whatever that they're playing with, or yeah, maybe they're having a bad day and they're being mean, but you don't know what's happening. You don't know why they're being mean today. You don't know what they're going home to, what has happened. They're having a bad day for other reasons that you don't know. So again, it's not just about what's inside that counts in yourself, but also others. Think about that. That's what I want the kids to take away.
Well, I think it's incredible what you've done with this book, Darren. So you have read to a couple of schools. I've seen that.
Yes.
So what was your biggest take back from doing that?
My biggest take back was I was shocked at how the kids took to the characters. I mean, because I illustrated and authored it, I was able to not only read but draw with them. So I did a little art drawing with the kids, and they were so good. And they all went, well, I want to draw this character, and then they'd say, well, you can take the characters and make up your own story. And I just threw that as a throwaway, because I was running out of time. It was like they wanted to draw this character and draw that character. I'm like, well, you guys can draw whatever character you want and come up with your own story. And I left it at that. Well, I come back the next day and I have, they literally sent me a pile of NAUTO stories that each of the kids wrote to me. And, NAUTO meets a pair of scissors. And, I've got so many of these stories of what happens when they meet, when they meet Noddle, and they wrote, they literally wrote whole stories of what happened, and it's just how they took to the
Wow.
characters so readily. I was astonished. And I even had one little shy girl was hanging around afterwards, and she was with the teacher, and the teacher came up to me and she said she just wants to know that she wants to be just like you when she grows up, because she wants to be an artist and draw, and she wants to author and draw books. And I was like blown away by the impact, so it was very humbling of the impact that I had on kids for those sessions. It was amazing. Yeah.
I think it's really cool because some of the images that you just showed on the papers, we got some future artists out there. Like they're
Right.
like, oh
Right.
my goodness, like,
Unreal. Yeah.
oh wow. Yeah, it's just like little ones drew that. So what age group are you working with when you're going to the schools, Darren?
I'm starting with grades 1 through 3. I had a kindergarten class at 1, but mostly it's like 1, 2, and 3. So
Wow.
that's grades, ages 6, 7, 8, and 9 at the most.
And we're getting images like that from that young?
Right? And that was from
Wow.
a grade 1 class. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Keep your eyes open for those
Right.
kids.
They'll be writing the books after I'm gone. I'll just hand it over to them, and they'll just continue on.
But I think that's really cool how you got them involved and
Yeah.
got them to share because we need that. We need children to start having voices again. Like we said in the beginning of the show, we're talking about diversity, but we're not actually accepting of diversity. We're not accepting of these voices, the young voices. They're the ones that are going to bring the truth to the table. They're the ones that are going to make the difference.
Yes.
And oh my goodness, like we got some storytellers out there, we got some artists out there, like and I love, this is why I love doing what I do on Tea Time, is because I get to open those doors and get to see those things out there. And Darren, I have been following you, like I said, for a couple of years on TikTok, and I was just like, seriously, people, you need to follow him on TikTok because you get to see Noddle come alive. Like some of the videos you've created for Noddle with the marketing of the book is incredible.
And I'll be doing more of those. Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So who does the voices?
That was my daughter. She did the voice. I would say the line, and I'd record it on my phone, and then I'd say another line, and she'd just mimic me, and that's how we did it.
Oh wow. I just think we got a future star there too, because
Right?
she's got an amazing voice. Like I'm just like, who's doing the voice? Like
Yeah, she's got a great
and
voice.
I think it's really cool. And I think it's a good Christmas gift to go out and grab this book. It's a perfect time, a new year's beginning. Let's accept people for who we are, right? And get that story out there. So Darren, do you have any future projects coming up?
I'm just going to be doing more illustrations, and hopefully I'm going to be starting the new book in the new year.
Oh, I am super excited. Count me in, man. TikTok is a place to go to if you want to see the stuff. I see a little bit on Instagram, but most of your live stuff is on TikTok. So.
Correct. Yeah, I do it on there, and by all means, like jump on, ask questions, throw stuff at me. That just feeds it for me to be able to answer questions and do more TikToks. And eventually, I'll be brave enough to do a live, and maybe we'll do a drawing session or something.
Oh, that would be cool, right?
Yeah.
I think. Oh my goodness, yeah. Like I'm looking forward to seeing what happens in the future. Like Darren's, so they can follow you under Darren Cranford on TikTok.
I think on TikTok I'm under Cranford Creative or Cran Create.
Oh yes, Cran Create. You have.
Yeah.
So people can check that out. Well, I really want to thank you for joining me today. Like it's been a blast, and I am so honored to know you and have you on Tea Time. And I can't wait to see where Noddle goes, and I can see where all the other characters go. And I'm going to be the first one cheering on over here, saying, "Oh nope, we got a new show that we got to watch." So when it lands, I need to know.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on, Liz. It was been wonderful. Let me know how your daughter or your granddaughter what she thinks of the book. I'd love to hear it.
Absolutely. I will take a picture of her with it and I'll
Yes,
send
please.
it to you.
That's amazing.
I can't wait. Well, I'll see everybody back tonight at 7 p.m. with Donna Conrad, and she'll be talking about concept of individual of empowerment. We're going to be talking about women empowerment, individual empowerment, and how we do with self-care and all that good stuff. So I'll see everybody at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the last tea time of 2023 will be on a Monday, not a Thursday, because Thursday the 21st is the reunion show. Be sure to check that out. Subscribe to the channel. You can watch that for free. If you'd like to make a donation, you can go to Miss Liz's website at www.misslizsteatimes. And again, thank you, Darren, for joining me today on Tea Time. And I'll see everybody at 7.
Thanks. Bye.